The damaging effects of this ongoing financial crisis on businesses worldwide are leading some business leaders to ask serious questions about the current economic system. Also, we're seeing growing inequality worldwide, now being recognized by the International Monetary Fund and the World Economic Forum as posing a problem for businesses and for security. And so still other business leaders, because of that, are questioning capitalism, thinking how can we have a more equitable economic system. And then still other business leaders who are aware of our sustainability challenges, who recognize that we are depleting our natural resources faster than they can be replenished, and that we've hit 7 billion people now. Those business leaders that are aware of that are also asking questions about, can we continue with this form of continual economic growth? And I think management consultants and business schools, by and large, have failed to provide such business leaders who are asking these deep questions. We failed to provide them with a space for informed reflection and to think through the implications for business strategy. And that's unfortunate, because it means that we're seeing quite misinformed debates about the implications of debt, poverty, economic instability, and the environmental crisis. So I think what business schools and management consultants can and should do is help business leaders to explore these issues. And to do that, we could start by helping people see their untenable assumptions. And I think a good example of this is the current debate that we see growing in economic policy circles and in the international level about economic growth. By that I mean GDP, so the amount of money changing hands in an economy, gross domestic product. And I think looking at the debate today, we see four general arguments about economic growth. We see people who are calling for more growth. We could call them the pro-growthers. And they say that we need more growth to replenish government budgets and to increase incomes, create jobs, and help lift the poor out of poverty. We also see people saying the exact opposite, that on a finite planet we can't continue to grow our economy. And so these are the no-growthers who are talking about the environmental and ecological crisis that we face. And they do that because they are concerned for the future sustainability of people, not just all the problems today. There's a third view that you see now, which is becoming quite popular, which is about green growth. This idea that we can stimulate sectors of our economy that are environmentally beneficial, such as clean technologies like solar, wind, and so on. And there's this idea amongst the green growthers that we can decouple economic growth on the one hand from consumption of natural resources on the other. There's a fourth view, which is that we really need to get beyond talking about growth at all, and we need new measures, measures such as well-being or happiness in society. And these should be the measures that we use to guide policy, to hold politicians to account, and so on. Now, what we're seeing is this is somewhat of this growth debate is somewhat a dialogue of the deaf. We have people in the South, the global South, questioning those who wish to promote green growth or argue against growth. We have debates between radicals and reformists, people into development, people into environment, and in the end, we don't seem to have much of a breakthrough or of a consensus about what we need going forward. And I think that's because this debate is founded on an untenable assumption that most people are making. And that assumption is that money is neutral. The way money is created is somehow neutral and does not have any impact on the nature of economy and society. And that's untenable because currently 97% of our money in the economy in most societies worldwide is created by private banks as debt with interest. It's created out of nothing through fractional reserve banking. Now what this means is that, as this is the way our money is created, it means that there's more debt in the world today than there is money. So we'll never actually pay off debt. And it means therefore that to keep this money system going, we need more and more money lent into the economy every year just to service existing debt payments. And of course that new lending comes with new interest, and so it's this sort of a Ponzi scheme of money, which means that we need ever expanding consumption of natural resources. Because we need ever more exchange of products and services in order to justify these new loans to keep the monetary system from collapse. And so this also, of course, because we're all paying compound interest, means that inequality is a certainty. We can't really address this growth question properly without being better informed about the money system. And in fact what we need to see is monetary reform. So we need to see an end to fractional reserve banking and governments to be issuing their own money rather than borrowing it. And we need to see a more of a mix of complementary currencies, communities, local governments and others creating their own currencies, not as debt with interest. So it doesn't create this system that I've described. Now, the problem with not recognizing the money system and making this assumption that money is neutral is that then all the arguments, the four views on growth I've described, are actually incoherent. Because the reason people are pro-growth is because they believe that people should be able to flourish and progress as they see fit. Yet, if you are for that form of liberty, then you can't be for this system of money creation, which creates perpetual indebtedness and means that money ends up in the hands of the bankers. Also means that growth is not our choice, it's required to keep the money system going. And then those who are against growth, the no-growthers, if they argue for that but don't talk about changing the money system, then a situation of no growth but with this debt-based money system means we will see foreclosures, bankruptcies, unemployment, even extremism in the end, as we've seen in history when this happens. For those who argue for green growth, I mean, I think the rationale for that is to be somewhat pragmatic and to try and get sustainability thinking into the current paradigm. And yet, it just shifts the debate. You know, of course we need more investment in clean technologies, and we need to look at different ways of doing that and incentivizing that. But that still doesn't get to the heart of this growth imperative, which means that we're going to be hitting ecological limits. And decoupling has just not occurred anywhere near a level of what we require. I think we need about a decoupling of 11% per year for the next 40 years if we're going to have any chance of hitting our carbon targets. And even in the best years, we've seen less than 1% decoupling. And so the other camp in the growth argument is the beyond growth view, and absolutely we need new measures of well-being, and the people who are working in that field are doing good work. But again, just by us talking about a different goal for society doesn't do anything about this growth commandment that we must have economic growth, we must have more money changing hands, just by the very nature of our monetary system. And so we see that this debate about growth that's being had right now won't go anywhere if it's based on these untenable assumptions that money is neutral. And we can have a much more interesting and informed discussion about the kind of economic system we want if we lose that assumption. And so I think the role for intellectuals, the role for people who host learning processes, whether in business schools or management consultancies, is to really help people spot these assumptions and work through what this might mean, both for national policies but also for individual business strategies. And I think that if companies engage in these issues, they may find not only that they can try and encourage a shift in public debate, shift us away from this very short-term almost sense of impending doom that we must restore growth right now, shift us to a slightly more reflective position and talk about, well, what kind of economic system do we want to create, and encourage the politicians to explore that as well. But secondly, by engaging in this more deeply, I think business leaders will be able to spot new business opportunities coming from currency innovations, for example. I think there are many opportunities in this space for IT companies, for telecommunications companies, amongst others. And so I think there are big business opportunities here. So in my last book, The Corporate Responsibility Movement, I've mapped out the reasons why responsible business leaders who are really thinking about the future of their companies in an economy, in society, in one environment, should really look at reforming capitalism. We urgently need more reflection on that, and to be informed not just from within business schools and the normal business disciplines, but actually to draw upon sociology, development studies, political economy, psychology, art and design, to really have a good inquiry into this. And so that's what I'm calling for in the corporate responsibility movement. It's currently unclear the extent to which particularly large organisations, whether governmental or corporate or intergovernmental or indeed academic, whether large or leading institutions are prepared to really explore these questions deeply enough for them to be significant. But I think if you see something as really, really important, you just have to keep plugging away at it no matter what, and hopefully some people will come and join in and will be able to move forward with pioneers, people who really care and are prepared to think differently and not just follow the herd.